I've been watching this little show called The Last of Us Part 2, Season 2. And it's actually a really good show. I'm here with 𝘲𝑚𝑝𝑒𝑟 who's going to discuss it with me.
Wagwan.
Yeah, and actually, 𝘲𝑚𝑝𝑒𝑟, you actually played the games, right?
I played the first one extensively, and the second one I boycotted.
Why'd you boycott?
I'm not gonna get into spoilers. I didn't like the creative direction that they went with it.
Well,
I'm one of many though, alright? So it's not just me being immature. I've grown since then. It's been several years, alright?
well, if anything, we are going to get into spoilers, especially for Season 2, the first 3 episodes. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then please stop watching here. But if you are okay with being spoiled, then come on over. So just to recap, Season 1, we follow Joel, who's played by Pedro Pascal, as he is set to deliver Ellie, who is, to my knowledge, as someone who has not played the games, other than the tutorial.
Oh, disgusting.
I didn't have the system for it. Anyways, yeah, Ellie, to my knowledge, is the only immune person, right? Or
as far as we know, like when you are playing through the game, that is your knowledge.
okay.
All the way up until the end. There's a couple different theories that are thrown out there that there could have been other ones that the group known as the Fireflies. That's the group that
the militia
group that Joel has an interaction with at the hospital at the very end. There's some data files of which they found some other what did they refer to them as?
Immunes?
Other patients of which that it seems like they could be immune. But I think Ellie was the first one of the cordyceps were in the brain, and she was still
alive.
Not just alive, but aware.
Like human.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I think Ellie is one of the only ones, or the only one that was actually born with it.
Correct, right. Because she was, her
mother was pregnant.
Her mother was bitten while she was pregnant, while she was giving birth to her, right.
I thought it was, her mother was bitten right before she started to give birth.
Right.
Yeah. So that was different.
Right.
And by the time you reach the end of Season 1, you're in the hospital where you, as Joel, find out that what they're actually going to do with Ellie is they're going to cut open her head, take her brain, and Joel is just like, she's not going to survive that. So he goes on an unaliving spree and pretty much unalives almost every single person at that hospital just to get Ellie out. And actually, that's, I think, one of the interesting things about this series is everybody's a gray area. There's no black and white. No.
That's a great writing of this game. Naughty Dog, which are the developers, and Neil Druckmann is their writer and director of the game, did a great job of like just fleshing out how life is that none of us are perfect. Like Joel is not he's our protagonist, but he's not a hero per se. I would even label him as an anti-hero, as an anti-villain. All I know is that he's a father, and that's what the game is about. It's a story about a father and a daughter.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because we start off the series with the tutorial that you play in the game, where Joel does lose his actual daughter.
Right.
He's hesitant to be around Ellie, and then he develops this fatherly bond, and he's like, you know, I can't do this. I came, I did a job. I'm not supposed to actually care about this person. But then when he finds out she's not going to make it if he leaves, he's like, I can't do this. I care too much. And his actions are actually what causes Part 2, Season 2, where we have Ellie, we have Joel, they're in a settlement, they're living a decent life. Ellie's like, I'm immune, I could go explore the world, I'm fine. And then we have this new group, which is what is left over of the Fireflies, this little group of 4 with Abby and 3 other of her friends. And by the way, with what Joel did, he's pretty much the reason the Fireflies are disbanded, because
he cut off the head.
Pretty much.
He cut off the
He only unalived like 18 to 19 people.
Only.
I mean, yeah.
Only, huh?
But they were the heads of of the entire thing.
Right,
So
right, the
with no
faction,
leaders, everybody disbanded.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're introduced to this new group, Abby, and all we're told pretty much is that they want revenge on Joel for unaliving so many fireflies. And it's actually quite interesting because there's a few differences between the game and the show when it comes to this. Like, for instance, in the settlement, we're introduced to Gail, who is a new character, a therapist, but I think that's because it's hard to do certain things.
Well, portray.
Yeah, it's hard to portray certain things that are in the game into like TV film.
Right.
And then also one thing that's different is like how they're moving around the characters. So in the settlement we have Joel and Tommy, they're brothers, and then we have Ellie, Dina, who are a new budding relationship, and they tend to go out and explore in pairs. And Joel is actually paired with Dina during this outing when they meet Abby. And in the game, he's actually paired with Tommy. But I like that they switched it because of what they did. Abby unintentionally, but to her advantage, ends up waking up a huge horde of these zombie creatures, which ends up attacking the settlement. And because Joel is out with Dina, Tommy's actually back at the settlement to help them defend.
Right.
And I thought it was that particular scene with the zombie horde actually reminded me of like The Walking Dead. I used to watch a lot of The Walking Dead, and I was just like, this is giving me Walking Dead vibes, but mixed in with World War Z because the zombies are moving fast.
Right. I was introduced to all three of these franchises around the same time, but The Last of Us, I believe, was first. I read World War Z after the movie came out. But this was the Last of Us was the first one that I saw zombies that moved fast.
In the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I never saw that as a trope or in fiction beforehand, because I think they had like three different types of original game. You had like the original one that right after they got infected. Wait, no, it's switch around. I don't remember the exact details of the gameplay itself, but you had one that moved slow, another one that moved fast, and then you had the big one, the one that attacked Tommy in the second episode, the bloater.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the dynamics of the game.
As the cordyceps advances and depending on the location of where it happens, that's how they become. That's kind of similar to World War Z, where the zombies are adapted to your physical capabilities. So, for instance, if you were healthy and fit, your zombie can run as healthy and fit as you can. Oh, so zombie Usain Bolt is out here.
Zombie Usain Bolt.
Shout out to Jamaica, but no.
So that scene with the zombie and the attacking of the settlement definitely reminded me of other very good zombie movies. I wanted to say, like, with Abby, and then guys, this is entering spoiler territory. With Abby, she's attacking Joel because of what he did to the fireflies, but because of the new context of her waking up that horde, she inadvertently also did the same thing that Joel did. Her process of revenge or trying to do what she's doing for herself ends up unaliving a whole lot of innocent people. Just like how Joel was trying to fight to get Ellie out of there to keep her alive, caused him to unalive a whole bunch of people. Which
goes into the overarching story of the cycle of revenge.
Yeah. And it's the gray area.
An eye for an eye. Like, just like how they discussed that, I believe the beginning of the third episode after the attack, that the one of the town folk, I guess that's what I refer to, one of the citizens of the town, one of the survivors, he says that we're supposed to forgive, and he's not even a Christian.
Yeah.
Right, that was giving them an out, to like, they already came to do what they did, and it was just let it go, and to just keep on.
And another guy was just like, no, you attacked my own, I want to attack your own. And Joel is a pivotal person within that community. So that adds even more of a like.
I would just like to point out that the reason why I didn't want to play the second game, right, was because of how they did this story. I have no problem with Joel not being alive at the end of the story. No problem whatsoever. He did. Well, he's not the best.
I, on the other hand, am a huge fan of Pedro Pascal. Great actor. I wouldn't have mind if he lived throughout season 2, but I understand.
No problem. Like I have no problem that as long as he was. I have no problem with him not being alive at the end of the season, because Joel, like I said, he's not a hero. He's done a lot of bad in this world to survive. You know, he's kind of went through a redemption arc through reconnecting with Ellie. You know, kind of getting some closure with what happened with his daughter. But of course, that's why this man is in therapy. He's still not over it. I mean, how we ever can get over it was quite traumatic. He lost his daughter in his arms, and it's about to happen to him again at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So it's Abby was coming for revenge. I just don't see why we couldn't have played as her throughout the whole thing, right? We follow her story, right?
Wait.
So you see it as a spin-off. And then at the end of it, that's when the reveal is, when she finally gets there, right? To get her revenge, right? To get into this community. It turns out to be Joel. We've already fell in love with her character, right? Because we feel her pain.
So here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I looked it up. I looked up the game.
Yeah.
In the game, right? You do get to play as Abby.
Right.
But you play as her after she does what she does.
Correct. That's what I'm
But
saying.
I don't think... So, honestly, I don't think it makes sense, whether game-wise or film-wise, to have a lead-up arc for Abby, because she's just hell-bent. She has one motive, one goal. It's... The reason she wants to unalive Joel is because the doctor that was going to unalive Ellie was her father.
Correct. Just like the overarching goal of the first one is to get
But
Ellie to point A to B. This one is to get...
No, but I'm
Ellie's-
saying, right, Abby's point A to B has no changes.
Okay.
There's no, like, for me, it's just like revenge at point A, revenge at point B. Whereas, like, when we watch Joel's story, he went from, he didn't go, like, paying no daughter at point A to point B. No, he went through a roller coaster. I think where Abby is at now, she's very black and white, and she's like,
Right, that's why I was saying that I would have preferred if we were able to do that and we got to flesh out the character.
yeah, but I
That's
think
a learning
with Abby, there's not much to flesh out until after. Because I think the fact that she pretty much brutally unalived Joel, and I think it was when Ellie was there, and it's very clear this is somebody that cares for this person. I think that's the only time she starts to waver in her thought process. That's black and white.
Right, like I said, I didn't like the creative direction of first the game went.
I understand.
Right.
But yeah, that's where we're at. We're at, and then I got so frustrated with it because, and I think this is why I enjoyed them including the horde that attacked the settlement, is because you see as they're going to the lodge for safety, they could see that the settlement's on fire. They could see that something's going on, and Joel is like, we have to go back. We have to go back. And Abby is so hell-bent on her revenge that she is completely disregarding. There's a whole settlement of people, innocent people, that need help as well. And she's only focused on her revenge. Apparently in the games, how they went about it was a lot more brutal. Because Tommy is there, it's 2 guys instead of Joel and Dina. But yeah, Ellie ends up finding them. Ellie gets attacked. They pretty much unalive Joel, who is Ellie's father figure, in front of Ellie, which is starkly like a mirror similarity to Abby's dad being unalived by Joel. And it's like these are 2 people with very similar feelings. And now they're hell-bent. Well, now Ellie is hell-bent on her revenge because Abby took out her revenge.
Right.
It's a huge gray area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The world itself is It's all about people surviving. So just like when Abby was
Giving her monologue to Joel about how he affected her when he came and he he unalived these 18, 19 people. He affected
The heads of the fireflies.
he affected 18, 19 different families at the same time. So we just got one of them, that was able to come back for revenge. And throughout the first game and the first season, it's not just one, or it's not just those 18 or 19 people. That's something that they talk about, is touched on. If you hear, like you're referring to how the AI was programmed, if you are sneaking around, you can hear them talking about this man and this little girl who are going through these different areas and states and destroying these settlements, and all of these are regular guys. They refer to them by name. It's not soldier number one, it's Paul. Like they got Paul, a little girl stabbed Paul, and it's goes back into, again, like Joel is a father figure, right? But what kind of father figure is Joel? He created a complete monster, a machine.
Yeah.
That she was, the things that Ellie was doing at 14 years old is not something you could ever expect anybody in this civilization to be able to do with such efficiency. That's why she's so eager to go out there, is because she's already crossed the country. When the regular citizens are talking about going outside, to them,
they're terrified.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's always been that. And I love that there's a bit of context when it comes on to her being a minor and him being her father figure. When she was going to, if she was even given the opportunity to choose whether to go for the surgery or not, because she didn't. When they
told her she was just going to do it.
I don't think that they told her anything at all.
I think that they told her...
I think she went straight into surgery, no?
I remember they brought her straight in.
I think she passed out because she couldn't swim.
But I thought they told her, like, hey, we're bringing you here because we could help develop a cure. But they didn't tell her how they were going to develop it. That's something maybe we have to double check.
I think because when she woke up, she asked, "Did we find the fireflies?" Because remember, they were stuck in the tunnel. She couldn't swim. This is how I remember in the game, at the very least, because I've played it so many times now. And when she passes out and she's unconscious when they find her, so the leader, Marianne, which is the one that gave him the mission in the first place to get her across the country.
Mm-hmm.
She's unaware. So when he wakes up, she briefs him to let him know that she's going straight into surgery. That she wasn't even awake. That they just would put her in coma. So when she wakes up in the back of the vehicle, after he's done rescuing her from the operation table, she asks him, "Did you find the fireflies?" He said, "Yeah, we found them, but there was other people who were like you. It just didn't work out, so we're leaving." And she just didn't believe him. And that's why she asked him, if everything they said to me was true. But back to what I was saying about her being a minor, is that, can a minor make a decision like that to be able to say that they're going to end their lives when their parent figure is there?
Yeah, I think it's.
But she's the same minor, is the same one who is taking other people's lives.
I think. So
it's such an interesting dynamic.
It is an interesting dynamic, and I want to touch up on the similar show, The Walking Dead, because when you get to Negan, one of the things that was constantly mentioned in The Talking Dead and in other spaces was, if you had watched the story starting with Negan, you would look at Negan like he was a good guy. He built this settlement. He's protecting these people. He's defending and attacking people that are trying to ruin his settlement and things like that. But we started with who we started with. That's why we're just like, no, Negan's the bad guy. And in this situation, as you mentioned, Joel and Ellie going through to many of these civilians in their own settlements, they're like, these people are horrible.
Monsters. They're monsters.
But because we're seeing it from Joel and Ellie's perspective, we're like, we understand, we empathize. Go ahead, unalive these people.
Right. These people are protagonists in their own stories.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I look at something similar like The Walking Dead and kids who have to grow up in a completely different environment. For them, they're growing up in a society where, yes, that thing that looks human needs to be unalived because all it is going to do is unalive me. And then that's the gray area because you're already used to killing something, to unaliving something that's very humanoid. And you are not, like, I feel like that's such a gray area. You're already used to unaliving something humanoid and then comparing it to unaliving.
You're talking about like nature versus nurture towards like children growing up in the society?
Kind of.
Are you talking about just people in general? Because they were, I think, where the first game starts, it's been 15 years. Right?
Well, Ellie's like, what, 14?
She's 14, right.
So this is all she knows.
She knows, right. So she wasn't even, this is where the base of the world is, because the adults who have already been here, they went into raiding pretty quickly for survival reasons. The government had collapsed, and there was active cannibalism already going all around.
I would not do cannibalism because I would start to wonder, like, are there spores in here? Like, all these things.
But this is just, they're like, I think within the first couple of years, because they did have, they touched into this. They had the QZs, or I think the quarantine zones, which is what they forced people to live in. If you didn't want to live in it, then once you step out, they're just going to either bring you inside or they're going to unalive you out there because they don't want to risk you getting infected and spreading it amongst everybody else. And this is where they grew up, and they know that anybody else that lives outside of here on their own, they see them as raiders and survivalists. So once they, like, you can't trust anybody else. This kind of plays out like that, what's that hit show that recently came on Amazon? Fallout. So this world,
Fallout is really good.
This world operates underneath different rules.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so your question was like, how do you look at a kid who is making these decisions?
The adult decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like you are effectively, there's no difference between this little girl and this 40-year-old man who's coming through, because they're both gonna do the same thing. They're gonna do the same thing for the same efficiency.
I think it's because they're in a society, especially these kids, where it's like, this is what I was born knowing what to do.
Right.
This is how I survived.
And Joel was trying to protect her from that at the very beginning.
But he couldn't.
No, but she saved him.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
Yeah.
He realized that he had to be dependent on her because he lost Tess at the beginning. And Tess, when she was bitten,
she was so innocent. No, his daughter was so innocent.
His daughter was innocent. She was She was put down by a soldier in his arms, right?
Yeah.
The Tess was his partner. And they were the ones who were originally supposed to sneak her through the zone and get her to the fireflies. And then when she was bitten, she told him that this is the one opportunity for him to be able to fix everything. So that's how he ends up going with Ellie in the first place. And he treats her as a child originally.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the whole process, he begins to accept her as his daughter, but also as a partner.
I think he initially... he was kind of treating her as he would have treated his daughter, and his daughter and Ellie.
Or somebody else's kid. Else's kid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say his daughter.
No, the reason why I'm saying his daughter is because initially I feel like he's treating her like she's soft.
Right, she's just a little girl.
And his daughter is soft. She's delicate.
Well, I don't know. She was very... From the brief moments that we saw her,
she's not as rough as Ellie is. Is she capable? Yes, I think she's capable. She can handle living in a house.
Would she have been like Ellie if she grew up in this society?
I think
because I see similarities.
So I personally think that Joel's daughter would have been similar to Ellie, but more refined. Whereas I feel like Ellie is just rough around all the edges. With no parenting. With that being said, I want to talk about the scene that many are comparing to the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. You know, the scene that pretty much shocks everybody and is just like, that's not supposed to happen.
What we named 4 years ago the golf club scene?
Yeah.
Boycotted for life. Never played.
I was, as someone who did not play the second game and didn't really only played the tutorial and small clips of the first, I didn't have a system, okay?
Okay, no problem.
But seeing, so how it happens is, as I said, Joel, Abby is running from a horde that she wakes up. She ends up finding Joel and Dina, and she's like, okay, it's a storm. We could go take shelter at a lodge where her friends are. Because she finds out it's Joel. She's like, I got to get him there. We got to get rid of him. Along the way, they can see that the settlement's on fire, being attacked or whatever. And Joel's like, we got to go back. She's like, no, we could go there. My friends have weapons. He's like, okay, let's go there. And then we got to get back. We got to help them. They get to the lodge, and she tells everybody this is Joel. Everybody goes and pretty much takes them hostage. They put Dina down, and I guess with anesthesia, which is much nicer than the games, with what they did with Tommy, because they switched out Tommy and Dina's characters. Tommy's back at the settlement. And then they shoot Joel in the kneecap. And that is when Abby starts to golf club him.
Right.
Yeah.
All 18 holes. And maybe she went back for another round.
I feel like she did it. She did it so much that the golf club broke.
Right.
And then in that process, because they're all on walkie-talkies, Ellie is out with another settlement person, and they both go separate ways to see if they can find Joel. She ends up finding him. She tries to attack. Of course, she's in shock. She's not paying attention to really what's around her. She gets put down, and then they pretty much, Abby, revenge only focused, unalives Joel. For me, that scene was so frustrating as well as unexpected. It was frustrating for me because a part of me is just like, Joel, just tell her why you did it. Tell her you did it for Ellie. Tell her they were gonna kill, unalive the only person that you know that is immune. Tell them. Tell them.
The only thing with that, though, is that she probably did know that because they're the Fireflies, and that's what they've been doing. They've been looking for a cure. They've been looking for research, but she didn't care because in her mind, this is about all of mankind, and there was no reason for you to have slaughtered her father. This is her thought process.
So for me, I didn't even think she was thinking about all of mankind, because in all of her speeches, she never mentions the immune girl. Do I think she probably knew of her? Yes. I think if her dad was the one that was going to operate on her, absolutely.
Because they're survivors.
But it seems like her only focus is her dad. It seems like she's like, this person, Joel unalived my dad. These are the only two people that matters. It doesn't even seem like she's even thought, like, what happened to the immune girl? You know? Like, if he did, like, in my head, I'd be like, he did all this for that girl. That would be my first thought. But for her, it seems like she's like, no, you unalived my dad, I unalive you.
Right.
I don't care why you did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as you can see, Joel was accepting of it because he knows what it is.
Yeah.
He knows that what he did what was right for him. He didn't do what was right for anybody else. It was a selfish decision.
I think he was also just like, yo, I'm old and I'm tired.
It's understood. He was ready to go from the very beginning of the first one because he had never had anything to live for. He didn't have anything much to live for at that time, besides for his own selfish reasons for him to get through in life. But now he had found his peace in Ellie again, somewhat, and now he was disjointed because of his selfish desire to keep her alive. He lost her because their last conversation was at the dance. Right after the fight.
Oh, that definitely. I think like more and more that tells me like, yo, if you truly care for somebody and you guys have an issue, do your best to resolve it before the night is done, because you never know what can happen.
That's right.
And not just in zombie world, in real world too. So that's pretty much kind of where it leaves off. Is Ellie's just like, I want to go take revenge. And Abby is like, I got my revenge, and going through it. And it's such a great area because in a way they're both very similar at this stage.
Absolutely.
They're both like, you unalived my father figure, I want revenge.
Right.
And they don't know why each other did it or why each other is going that way.
Just how Ellie was going to wanted to save Joel, that's what Joel wanted to save Ellie.
Yeah.
In the very beginning. So it just goes back to, again, she's upset with him for saving her. And in the same instance, if it was the roles were reversed, she'd do the same for him. It's just It's very morally complex because I'm not a father as of yet. But the thing, what would you do for your child, and what would your child do for you?
Yeah.
You know, would you choose the world over your child, or would you choose your child over the world?
Yeah. And I think it's such an interesting thing on how, especially when you play the first game or even watch the first season, they go through so many life and death events. And I think living in a world where your life can end at any moment makes you develop bonds a little bit stronger or differently than how you are now in today's society, where it's like, oh, it's cool, we could be friends, but you don't actually care.
Absolutely, because you're dependent on each other for survival. But as I've come to learn, blood isn't what makes family. You make family.
True. So with that being said, right now, at the end of the season, which, by the way, guys, these shows that are based off of games are doing really, really well. I think.
What a change.
Well, I mean, I think
let's not boost them just yet, bro. Like I gotta watch and see. I'll give y'all another 3 years and see what bomb. Because remember, I didn't forget about Halo.
no,
but you
we're
did.
not talking Halo.
I didn't.
We're not talking Halo. So I will say this: the ones with very good storylines. Fallout had a good storyline. The Last of Us has a great storyline. I know they're doing God of War, which has a very good storyline. I'm a God of War fan. Me and Kratos are homeboys, but
Wonderful. Throw up the set. Throw up the set. What does it look like?
I don't even know. What is it a W for God of War? I have no idea.
Put that down. You know what you're doing.
But I definitely think with the direction this is going, and the fact that we are brought two very interesting characters who are both similar and highly volatile, highly against each other. We know Abby and Ellie will most likely never see eye to eye, especially after how brutally Ellie unalived Joel. In the video game,
I agree with her. Me and the millions of other people have been the same careers for years. We wanted this mission.
I understand why she did it. I understand. But just the fact that they both, in a way, kind of did it, had the same thing happen to them, and they're both in the same, very similar mindset, very impulsive, very, like, revenge focused. In the game, you play as both Ellie and you play as Abby.
Well, only after Abby has already
has already put away everybody's favorite father figure.
Pedro Pascal.
My personal
Joel.
father. My father. Gone to the wind.
Yeah, like after you see
By golf club. It was disrespectful, man. What was done to us as a family.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot. Like it's literally Red Wedding-esque. I was not expecting it. I was not, and I was a little bit traumatized.
I mean, I was going more like Ned Stark. I mean, come on now.
Well, even that in the first season, like when that happens, that kicks off the whole thing. It's different, you know.
Nobody expected it. Nobody expected it. Because even in the first game, our two protagonists make it through. Right? We didn't expect one of the protagonists. This is very early in the game. I think
the ending that we got in that one. But actually, you know what? Even in that one, with the tutorial, with Joel's daughter being unalived in the way she's unalived, you don't expect it because in the tutorial, you're playing her.
Right,
you're playing the daughter. You play the character, the first ever character in The Last of Us that you play and you're unalive. So that's why I say I don't think she's like Ned Stark. I put it more Red Wedding because Joel's daughter was technically the Ned Stark of the series.
Oh, okay.
She's the catalyst that leads to Joel being the way he is and why he does what he does and why he deals with Ellie the way he deals with Ellie.
All right.
But since we're now on a journey with these two very polarizing characters, one of which you only get to really see like how she thinks and moves after she destroys and breaks all of our hearts by unaliving Joel. How do you think this is going to play out? Because I know there's changes in the show, but they're for the most part following through with everything. So how do you think this storyline between Ellie and Abby is going to play out?
Um, it's the overarching theme for the show is well for the series now is the cycle of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first one was about hope and the dynamics of a father and daughter relationship. This is a follow of that, and Joel never got to get his. So I mean, now he has. He never got to pay for his crimes.
Mm.
You know, in the earlier parts of his journey.
I didn't want him to pay.
No, I don't think any of us did because we saw his redemption arc.
Yeah.
Abby didn't care about that because she doesn't know this man.
Yeah.
This is a crazy man who came to where she lived, along with his sweet old daughter that was supposed to save the world with it, and then he decided, nah.
Yeah.
Took away her pops and his friends and a couple of different people, and he just left. So I think it's just gonna play out where we're gonna get to see how revenge is a bad thing, and we should never seek vengeance. Where you need to turn the other cheek, as was discussed in the episode. That's where it's really going. I know that, and hence why I just did not pick up the second title. But I do enjoy, mind you, it is a grand masterpiece of storytelling. It doesn't mean that I have to like the story.
Mm.
I just don't appreciate what you've done to me, Neil Druckmann, and how well acted this all is. The voice actors are good.
It's very well
mind you, I'm not the biggest fan of Bella Ramsey playing the older Ellie because there was a upgrade in the cat. Well, it's like a 5-year difference. So Ellie is obviously a little girl, well, a teenager, well, a 14-year-old, right? In the first game, and then when you play her in the second game, I believe she's 19 years old, and you can see, you know, she has her tats up and whatever. But this, she
still looks too young.
Yeah, she still looks a bit young for the role itself. I think actually that Abby actually looks like the character design of what Ellie is. Oh yeah, the character design for Abby has changed so much. She is a brick house unit in the game. She plays like how Joel did in the original game. Like Ellie, since she was younger, she had to play more sneaky, more crafty. You could still attack enemies or whatnot, but you couldn't go head on
because you didn't have the strength.
You didn't have the strength to do so, right? But Joel, brick townhouse, you know, 6'4", whatever he is, looks like a lumberjack. Abby was even stronger looking than Joel was, right?
But
this was a young female.
She's military trained.
Not just military trained. She was a brick bodybuilding house. I'm telling you, she was like, her arms were super jacked. I am jealous of how her arms look in that game. And she would like Ellie uses a switchblade as her main weapon, right? She uses her hands. She's whooping these monsters with her hands, right? Because they're still humans, right? The thing is that she's out here dodging and weaving and kicking them and punching them and ripping their heads, like all kinds of different stuff, man. I'm telling you. So I was shocked when I saw that this was the Abby that we got. So like, just imagine what we saw her doing to Joel, but with a woman that's like 3 times her size.
So I will say this because of what you're describing.
Right.
If I'm looking at these characters as a casting director, I would want them to be roughly similar in height because I'm assuming they're gonna have scenes together. I want, and because of the mirroring stories and mirroring characteristics, I would want them to kind of be like equals. Because if Abby is towering over Ellie and Ellie still looks young, it's just gonna look so off.
But I mean, in the first game, the whole thing that we learned about her is that does not matter. It does not matter. It does not matter.
But if I'm a casting director and someone who's looking visually at this, it matters.
Okay, all right.
You know?
Fair point.
Just visually. I will say personally for me, after all of this, the only thing that's really pushing me through the season is I want to see what happens when Ellie and Abby meet again and Abby truly understands that the reason Joel did what he did is for Ellie. Like, I feel like it did not register to Abby that Joel did it for somebody. I feel like it didn't even register to her that Joel did it for the immune girl. I don't even think they even considered or thought about the girl that he did it all for. So I'm very curious to be like a part of me is just like, he did it for Ellie. Ellie's the immune girl. Because like when they're holding Ellie down, a part of me, as someone who did not play the game, is just like, they're gonna They're gonna unalive Ellie. They're gonna unalive Ellie. And in my head, I'm just like, she's immune. She's immune. She's immune. Don't do it. You know? And then it happens to Joel, and I'm just like, I would have been okay if that was the case. So I'm just that's really where I'm at now, is I just want to see the look of shock on Abby's face when she realizes it was you he did it all for. And on top of that, you're the cure.
All right. Well, we'll see if they put that in there, because I'm sure she does not care whatsoever.
We'll see. Well, I mean, they're gonna. I feel like
I think you're looking at it from your own standpoint about these things. I'm sure she does not care. The whole point of that faction is solely to ensure that they want to put things back to how it was.
Well,
right?
how it was clearly not good. So
right, because they said, well, whatever plan we had, you screwed it. So yeah, so they came back for their revenge. I'm sure she completely understands. She knows what it is. She saw her father. She said what she saw. She said she saw her father's. She said she saw her father's brains on the wall. That's what she said. I remember at that very beginning scene, you see her reaction. That's the reason why she's so upset.
Okay, then I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like Abby is so black and white right now. Like, oh, it's either good or it's either bad. I want to see her in that gray area.
I think that's what they were getting at in the whole process, is that you people are becoming black and white with this vengeance thing.
Yeah.
We are all healing, right? They had a place that's safe. You know, they have it protected and whatnot. But no, you want to go out there and go do this because that's what they want to do. And remember, this is a great story overall, right? But this is also based on a video game. And you know what we get back to? Why did you take my father from me? I'm going to spend the whole journey worrying about this. All right?
Oh my gosh. Outside of that, I'm also hoping that they do flashbacks with Joel.
Did you know in the game, when you play Let's Plays, there are people who tried to take Abby when they're playing as her to try to run her closer to where Ellie is. They were not trying to play as this one. They're trying to get them to be faster. Unfortunately.
Because they feel the way I do.
Of course, because we only have one mission.
Anyways, guys, this season is off to such a great start. We will continue talking about this, so I look forward to hearing your comments. What do you think about what happened to Joel? Do you line up with Abby? Do you understand her, or do you not like her also? And how do you feel
I'm not partial. If I was her, I'd do the same thing too. But all right. So I understand.
Okay, you know what? I think because I'm a communicator, I would want to find out why you did it. Like, if I unalived you and I did not know exactly why you did it, it would sit in my head for so long.
I'm pretty sure they had all the documents there, all the operation that they had. They had the nurse that was there.
No, but I mean,
you know that one of them table was a little girl that had
but they don't know the relationship between them.
Right.
You know? And I think this is why I feel
Do you think they're going to make them play The Last of Us? So she can really connect?
No. But
because what she's going to do is she's going to connect with the father that she knew. The father that she knew her whole life.
No, but
I'm saying, that made her pancakes in the morning.
I do think if Abby does realize that the reason Joel did it was for the girls, for Ellie, the girl she saw crying as she did it, then she might be like, okay, this is a gray area. And that's what I want to see. I want to see Abby get into this gray area where it's not just black and white.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I hope so. So that's it for today, guys. Like I said, tell me how you feel. Do you agree with Abby? Do you dislike her so much? How do you feel about what happened to Joel, or overall Pedro Pascal's character? How do you feel about Ellie? How do you feel about the changes with the Horde attacking the settlement and things like that? I want to know, and I will see you guys.
Shout out to the casting director. They're all doing great. And if I hate you in the show, it's because you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Actually, that's one thing I'm worried about, because the voice actor for the girl who played Abby, she literally got death threats from playing the voice of the character in the game. She got death threats. So
I'm sorry, man. The guys that live in the basement, like they really are on this. All right.
Yeah. But overall, great acting. Bye, guys.
Adios.